1,
2,
3,
4.
Monster movie.
Fun time, go! Monster movie.
Fun time, go. Monster.
Movie.
Fun time.
Go!
Monster movie. Fun time, go.
With Precious D and Honeybee.
Fun time, go!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends and neighbors, welcome to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. I am one of your hosts, Precious D.
And I am the other one of your hosts, Honeybee.
Honeybee, how was Kaiju Go?
Kaiju Go was so fun. It was so much fun. We had a blast. I took my friend Philip, shout out Philip. My brother Gus went and his lovely girlfriend Tanya went, and we had so much fun.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, Philip had never seen the movies that we watched, so that was so funny because it was like really his first time. And the people around us, shout out to Josh, and I think her name was Scarlett. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. But if you guys are listening, hey, shout out. So nice to meet you guys. But we just like, after the movies, we were just laughing and just like talking shit about how ridiculous some of it was. And it was a blast. We had a great time.
Well, we did seem to pick up some new followers after Kaiju Go, so I guess our plan worked. In case you're just joining us, folks, we were sponsors for Kaiju Go this year, which was a Godzilla little film festival and toy and art show in Dallas, put on by some buddies of ours, and this was the second year that they did it. But I had to change my plans at the last minute and wasn't able to go.
Boo.
But we will be there next year. We will sponsor it again next year, and I will be there. Come hell or high water.
It was great. It was a great time. Yeah, loved it. Had so much fun. It was wonderful. The special guests were awesome. They did like a little Q&A with the Nagatas, and it was great. We had a blast.
Well, in case you're joining us for the first time, Honeybee and I are two best friends making our way through the history of kaiju movies. We started in 1933 with King Kong, and now we are up to 2008 or 2009, depending on how you're counting, with the movie Outlander, because it was released in Latvia in 2008, but not in the U.S. until 2009. Honeybee, do you have any initial thoughts on Outlander?
Well, honestly, I feel like this monster wasn't big enough for my liking. I mean, he's totally like so cool. The kaiju is great, but I was just kind of surprised by the size. Like, it just felt kind of small in the general scale of things. But I surprisingly really enjoyed this film. It was very predictable in a lot of ways, and I will say that I do wish that the love story was between the two men and not the alien and the Viking princess ? I thought it would have been a better story if the love story was between the two men. I kind of felt like they just had more going for them and more chemistry, but the movie was great. I loved it, and yeah, I think that I just thought the kaiju was a little on the smaller side of things, and I was kind of surprised by that. Like, oh, is this... There were some points where they do show it, and it's like, oh, okay, there it is. That's like a better scale, but for the most part, I just felt like it was kind of small. What about you? What are your initial thoughts?
I enjoyed it. I love John Hurt. He's always great. It's an unusual one. I mean, it just showed up on this list of kaiju movies when I first put this list together. So I'm like, all right, guess we're watching this next. But it is... It's loosely based on Beowulf, ladies and gentlemen. Mm-hmm. Are we all familiar with Beowulf, the epic poem?
By all, do you mean me?
Yeah, yes, you. But also our listeners.
Yes, I am.
I am not claiming to have actually read Beowulf, even though I have owned various translations of it. You do know Beowulf though? Oh, well, it's been
Yes.
it's been a movie. It's been more than one movie. There's been things based on it. But if anybody's not familiar, it is an Anglo-Saxon epic poem, generally considered the first piece of literature of whatever written in English. But I say translations because it's written in Old English. You can't just pick it up and look at it. It needs to be translated into modern English, unless that's your course of study in college is Old English. But for some reason, nobody in it is named Beowulf, even though other names from Beowulf show up in it, and there is a sort of basic plot of Beowulf. But for some reason, we get aliens instead, or an alien. Let's see here. It is directed by Howard McCain, written by Dirk Blackman and Howard McCain. From, as I said, released in 2008 in Latvia, but 2009 in the U.S. It is 115 minutes. The budget, $47 million. Box office, $7,033,683. That's very specific.
Ouch. Oh, that's rough.
Yeah. Yeah, that's hard.
Damn, I thought it was better than that.
There was talking about there was supposed to be stuff designed by What a Workshop, but it looks like that fell through. It was not filmed in New Zealand. It looks like under countries it says United States, Germany, France, and Czech Republic. I don't know if that means countries where it was filmed or countries that contributed money to the production.
Well, it's supposed to be set in Norway, which is none of those things, which is hilarious.
Yeah, it's not set in... Where is it normally? Where's Beowulf normally set? I'm not sure. I think it's set in some Nordic country, even though it's supposedly in English. It's, the early sort of Germanic form of English. Anyway, let's get on with the cast. Jim Caviezel as Kanan, an alien warrior, not Beowulf. Kanan. Sophia Miles as Freya, daughter of Hrothgar. Jack Houston as Wulfric, nephew and heir of Hrothgar and king of Heorot. John Hurt as Hrothgar, king of Heorot. So Hrothgar, that's the name of the king in Beowulf. Heorot is the name of the hall that he rules from, that Grendel attacks. Cliff Saunders as Boromir, Heorot's smith. We'll get to Boromir in a minute. Ron Perlman as Gunnar, king of the neighboring village. Aidan Devine as Einar, and Bailey Maughan as Eric, a young orphan. Oh, that's the little kid, little dirty-faced kid. I fixated on Boromir because, that's a name from Lord of the Rings. And I thought, well, maybe it doesn't originate in Lord of the Rings. Maybe it's an Old English name that Tolkien used. And I looked it up, and the only reference to Boromir I can find is Lord of the Rings. So, so I feel like these guys just decided to steal that name from Lord of the Rings. But if anybody knows different, if anybody knows of any other Boromir than the one in Lord of the Rings, let me know. Drop us a...
If you happen to be listening to this and your name is Boromir, hit us up.
No, if you're listening to this and your name is Boromir, your parents are definitely nerds that are into the Lord of the Rings. But if you're aware of any source of the name, pre-Tolkien, let me know. Oh, Judas Priest, I need a drink. All right. Here's our plot from Wikipedia. Thank you, Wikipedia. In 709 AD, a spacecraft crashes in a lake in Vendel-era, Scandinavia. Oh, that's a period. That's not the place. It's the Vendel period in history in Scandinavia. The only surviving occupant, a humanoid alien, retrieves a distress beacon and a computer, which explains that he is on Earth, a seed colony that his people have abandoned. So that's why he looks just like a human, because these outer space aliens have spread their seed onto colonies or planted seeds in colonies and then left some of them on their own.
Gross.
The computer downloads the local Norse language and culture directly into his brain.
My favorite part about this is like it like teaches him the language, and it's like and it's like so painful, and it's like a sick way to get information. Like, whoa, bummer that it's painful. But then it's like he asks, like it like tells him what language that he's gonna speak and like all this shit, and the first thing he says is fuck. And I was like, yeah.
The spaceman soon finds a recently destroyed village where he is captured by Wulfric, a warrior from another village. I think it's hilarious that they call him a spaceman. That's very
I think it's hilarious that this
old-fashioned.
guy's name is Wulfric.
Okay.
That's hilarious.
Okay.
Wulfric?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Okay.
Is that, have you, it's just so funny to me. Especially because he's like the guy, you know, like he's the guy, he's going to become king. He's like, and also I don't really understand how he's going to become king. Is it because the king only has a daughter, so he's just like picking someone to become king? Or like what?
Yeah.
Is that explained? I didn't really get it.
I think and I don't know in those times if there was any strict line of succession like there is in, modern monarchies, or if it was just the guy that hits hardest with the biggest stick gets to be king.
Okay, yeah, I see.
I do think, actually, I think there's an element in the poem Beowulf where they sort of establish the idea of a line of succession. The idea that the king can turn his power over to a successor without getting killed first. That you don't have to become king by killing the previous king and just by being the meanest asshole, but that the king can just designate a successor. I think I read something once about that being an interesting and important element in Beowulf. That might have been sort of a new idea at the time.
Yeah. Well, when we see Wulfric capture this quote unquote alien, we do see like there's like a whale carcass. So I was thinking like, oh, okay, like the kaiju is gonna be like big, like really big, because he just ate a fucking whale. Which I think this is like really where I started my idea of what the kaiju was like gonna be like, because he ate a whale and a whole village. So I think when I finally did see him and he was like a dragon puppy, I was like, what? What the hell? He's so little.
Wulfric takes him to the fortified village of King Hrothgar, father of Freya, who he hopes will marry future King Wulfric. Hrothgar is concerned that Gunnar, chieftain of the destroyed village, will assume it was Wulfric's doing, as Wulfric's father, Hrothgar's predecessor, had been allegedly killed by Gunnar. Okay. So, Wulfric's...
Okay.
So, I don't know if I caught any of that part. I definitely caught the, oh shit, he's going to think we did it. I'm not sure I got that.
Yeah.
Wulfric's father had been king before, so...
Yeah, well, he's like, they have this, like, kind of conversation back and forth after we meet, like, Freya and her father having the, I don't want to marry him, daddy, fight.
Yeah.
But, like, they have this, like, conversation where he's like, we should just kill him. And then the king's like, no, you can't just kill him. We need to make peace. And he's like, my father. And he's like, your father's dead because he was a fool.
Right.
And it's like, ooh, moment of silence for the awkwardness in the room.
I guess the thing is that Wulfric was probably too young when his father died, so Hrothgar became king. But the assumption is, when Hrothgar's done, that Wulfric will get to be king, since his father was king. And then if he marries the current king's daughter, that'll make everything even extra official, and there you go. So
Blah, blah.
Wulfric interrogates the Outlander, who identifies himself as Canaan, claiming he is from the north. Excuse me. And states that he is hunting a dragon. The village is attacked that night by an unseen creature which kills several men. Canaan identifies it as a Morwen, not a Grendel.
But wait, we gotta talk about Kanan punching Freya in the face.
Oh,
because they like Kanan's like, I'm hunting a dragon, and they like have this little like fight. Not him and Freya, but him and Wulfric and his like men. They like have a little scuffle. So they like tie him to this pole, and like his hands behind his back, and there's like a hot like fire poker in like the fire.
Yeah.
And he ends up like flipping it with his feet and then kind of like getting free. And Freya, first Wulfric goes to Freya and she's like, he's like, hey, you need to take care of the prisoner. And she's like, fuck him, I don't care. And he's like, well, then he's gonna die, and like, too bad, so sad. So she's like, ugh, fine. And she like goes, and sidebar, when she goes, there's a guy like who's guarding him who is disgusting and like smells her as she walks past. I was like, ew, not the sniff as she walks past. Anyways, you can tell the moment that she like gets down and like is like washing his face. I was like, I literally wrote the note like, oh god, they're gonna fall in love, aren't they? I roll. I'm like, Jesus Christ, here we go. But then she sees that his hands are like free, and she goes to scream for the guy who sniffed her, and he just fucking knocks her ass out. He just straight punches her in the face and knocks her out. I audibly gasped, like I was not, because you're like having this moment, you're like, oh god, they're gonna fall in love, and then he just straight knocks her out. Like, damn.
well,
he
you know,
hit her like a man.
There's got to be some kind of conflict for them to get over first. You know, they can't just be in love right away. There's got to be some tension. And what better way than to punch her in the face? Oh,
the conflict is supposed to be Wulfric, that she's like promised to him because her dad wants her to marry. That's supposed to be the conflict, not punching her in the goddamn mouth. Like, holy shit, I was shooketh.
I think he does apologize eventually.
Well, after she waylays him right back. But anyways, so yeah, they get like so he punches her in the mouth, starts escaping, and then we see one of the guards like smell something, like a stink kind of wafts by him, and he's like, oh, what is that smell? And then boom, the attack happens.
So anyway, after that, the village gets attacked by a creature which kills several men. Kanan identifies it as a Morwen, not Grendel, a predatory creature which caused his ship to crash and will hunt men and animals alike. So it's his fault this thing is there. When Kanan is taken with a hunting party to find the Morwen, he kills a gigantic bear that had slain some of the hunters, proving himself to the others, who begin treating him as a part of their tribe.
But before we see him like kill the bear and stuff, we kind of meet like the little orphan boy. Mm-hmm. And he like tries to, like, he wakes up after the village has been, you know, destroyed by this, like, we don't know yet because we haven't really seen it. We see some tentacles, we see an eyeball. I don't think it's a dragon, but we can't really tell. And then he like wakes up and there's this little boy who's like eating bread in front of him, and he like goes to give him a piece. And I'm not gonna lie, for a second I was like, is he gonna kick this kid in the face? I don't know. He did punch a woman. Like, I wasn't sure how the interaction was gonna go, but someone else actually kicks the kid's hand away with the bread, and then like he like tells us, you know, that he brought the dragon ? We're not sure yet, and it's pretty I don't know. This whole moment is kind of awkward because there's this guy, like a priest, who's like, the reason why we're getting attacked is because of Jesus. Like, you didn't bury the last king. This is Satan coming to attack us. And then the other people are like, believe in like other gods.
Yeah.
Like, may Odin keep them. So I wasn't really sure like what the kind of like religion of the. There was like a little bit of both,
Yes.
like a mixture, a little melting pot here.
Yeah, well, I mean, Christianity is starting to move into the area. And is pushing out, eventually is going to push out the old religion, but that hasn't happened It has not happened completely yet. So
I see.
This guy is,
Yeah, I was kind of shocked.
the priest is probably actually a recent convert to Christianity. He was probably not born into the church. He's probably recently converted and is now going to try to convert everybody else, but they're all still
Like,
they're maybe they're kind of maybe halfway on the Jesus train, but not quite, depending on how old they are. So
yeah. Yeah, then he's like, I brought it here, and I'm like, what? But the best part is when he does go on this little hunting group, and they're all getting ready, and they have him tied up, and he's like, how the hell am I supposed to fight like this? And then they give him a horse, and he's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? And then Freya, from off camera, goes, hey, Outlander. He turns around, boom! She punches him right fucking back. Yeah, suck it, nerd. You gonna punch me in the face? I don't think so. And we like when we get this moment between Freya and her dad like sword fighting in the beginning, we kind of get that Freya's like a badass. She's not like a soft like little cutesy girly like lady.
Yeah.
She's like literally fighting with a sword, and then tells Wolf whatever his name is, Wolfskin. What's his name?
Wolfric.
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 My bad. Wolfric tells Wolfric basically to like fuck off. We like get that she's kind of a badass. So when she punches him in the face, oh man, I was screaming. It was so good. It was like one of my favorite parts of the whole movie, especially because you just don't see it coming. It was so good. But yeah, they find the bear.
Isn't there a thing with some of them think the bear was the monster? The bear was what killed everybody?
Yeah, Wolfric thinks it's a bear because after the attack, everyone's like gashed up. Like they have like, claw prints and shit like through them. So he's like, it's a bear. It's got to be a bear. And when Kanan is like, it's not a bear. It's this dragon thing. They're not one of us. He doesn't fucking know what he's talking about. You can't trust this guy, whatever. So they go on this like hunting party and they're like looking for this bear because they don't believe him. And they do fucking find a bear, but I also, in this part, they introduce the drunk guy, which I love the drunk guy.
Is that Boromir?
I think so, yeah. Yes, it is.
Oh, it is. And then after he, because it doesn't mention it here in the summary, but when they start treating him as part of the tribe, they have a big feast. Yay, we killed the bear, and we're going to eat this fucking bear. Mm-hmm. And they have a big feast. And he gets challenged to a game of shields.
Yeah, which honestly I thought was just like dudes doing dude shit, like, but then it does become important later in the movie.
Yeah, so, it's Chekhov's shields.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure this movie just made this shit up. I don't think this is a thing that Vikings or Nords or early English speakers did. But what they do is a bunch of guys get their shields, their round wooden shields, and kind of stand in a sort of a circle and hold the shields over their heads. And then the two competitors jump up on the table and then get up onto the shields and have to walk from shield to shield. They're sort of on opposite sides of the circle from each other. And they have to walk, jump, skip from shield to shield and try not to fall.
Do some tricks.
Yeah, so it gets harder as if nobody falls right away, then we got to start to up the game. So one of them like does a front flip. Wolfgar is like, all right, but can you do this? And he does a front flip, and Kieran can do it, but he lands on Boromir's shield, I think, and it ends up breaking. Yeah. He is able to do it, but the shield gives way and he falls on the ground. But then Wolfric offers him a hand up, and they all laugh, and hey, you're okay. We like you now, Outlander.
And this was the perfect opportunity to like establish that they were falling for each other, the two men.
The two
But
dudes.
anyways, yeah, it was so perfect. Also, the music during this scene is so funny. Like, because the music for the rest of the movie is very, like, adventure-y and, like, scary, la la la. But the music in this scene is just, like, there is some goofy-ass shit happening.
Right. And this game of Shields, it reminded me very much of something they would do on Xena or Hercules back in the day.
Yeah, for sure.
She's done very similar nonsense in Xena.
But I was really confused at this point of why Kanan wasn't like, hey, it wasn't the bear. Like, I was confused why he's just like, yay, shields, and not like, you guys need to listen to me, like, you're still wrong. And I guess he was just like trying to establish some trust or something.
Yeah. I was
But
going to
like,
say that same thing.
what the fuck? Like, tell somebody. And then he fucking tells Freya, of all people. And I'm like, oh god, I roll with these two. I can't. So annoying. But then then they get like invaded, right? And I'm like,
Yes.
damn, what sucks is now everyone has to fight drunk. Because they've all just been like partying and drinking to celebrate this like bear thing, and now everybody's wasted, and now they're getting invaded, and everyone just has to fight drunk.
That's
and
right.
too bad you gave an orphan kid your sword.
That's right. He gave the kid his sword. Yeah, kids don't indulge in too much alcohol because you never know when the neighboring village is going to attack. You got to be ready at any time
Seriously.
for a Ron Perlman attack. You never know when Ron Perlman is
Perlman.
going to attack.
Ron Perlman with a face tattoo.
Now I'm picturing an AA meeting. Hi, my name is Boromir, and I'm an
Hi,
alcoholic.
Boromir.
So I was having this at this feast, and I got really drunk. And then Gunnar attacked, and I was too drunk to fight properly. Oh yeah, we've all been there, Boromir. Yeah,
And I didn't have a shield because a guy had jumped on it playing shields and broke it.
Because we were drinking too much, and that's what shields aren't. My mom always used to say, "Hey, that's not a toy. That's an implement of war. Stop screwing around. What are you gonna do if you break your shield and then Ron Perlman attacks?" So, all right, good meeting everybody. Thanks for bringing the donuts, Wolfgar. Gunnar and his men attack the settlement, retreating after both sides suffer casualties. They soon return, pursued by the Morwen, and enter the safety of the village. So, yeah, which I just thought was you fuckers, we're gonna attack you, we're gonna kill you all. Oh no, it's too hard. We'll be back to kill you. Yeah, it's great. They come, they retreat, and then they come running back really fast, and they're like, "Hey, fellow humans, there's a monster. I know we were fighting just a minute ago, but humans against monsters. Come on, man, be cool. We'll open the door." Which they do.
Yeah,
And,
well, first they think it's a trick, though, and they do kill quite a bit of them.
Yes, but I think Kieran knows what's up, and he's like, no, it's... and they enter the safety of the village. Kanan devises a plan to build a huge pit just inside the village entrance, fill it with whale oil, and leave wooden shields floating on the surface. So that's where Chekhov's shields come in.
Also, cue the inspirational team building music during this little montage.
Yes, we do get the montage of setting the trap, the A-team montage, preparing the trap. Freya becomes increasingly attracted to Keenan. What if Keenan was in this movie instead? Keenan. You know the one I mean. What the hell's his last name? I love it. Thompson?
Yeah, Thompson.
Thompson, Keenan Thompson. Damn it. I'm not.
Keenan, killing.
Keenan. He's like, oh, fuck no. Start singing "What's Up with That." Okay, so let's see. Keenan's people. He explains to Freya where the Morwen came from. It's my fault. It's here. You should have
Oh,
trusted me. I'm an
man.
outsider. I brought the monster. Canaan's people invaded its land, i.e. planet, slaughtered it in the billions and built a colony there. This Morwen, now the last of its kind, massacred everyone in the colony, including Canaan's wife and child. And frankly, they had it coming. When
Yeah.
his ship returned to the colony, the Morwen snuck aboard and later caused the crash.
What-
So this shit kind of just happened, at least from his point of view. There might have been
Yeah,
some... I'm not clear if there's faster than light travel or if it's suspended animation. I'm not sure, but go ahead. You were going to say?
When there's like this, when he's like telling Freya all of this, and she's like, he's like, I'm a bad man. You don't know me. You can't love me. And she's like, I can because you're not a bad man. He's like, you don't know me. And she's like, well, then tell me. And like he goes into this like flashback, right?
Yeah.
And then he's like, in the flashback, he looks very much like in charge, you might say. So whenever like they come back to reality, and she's like, you're not a bad guy. You just obeyed the king's orders. You didn't have a choice. He says, you always have a choice. And I swear
Yep.
I expected him to say, I was the king. I was like waiting for it. And then he didn't say it. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he just killed an entire planet of creatures, but he wasn't the king. So that's fine.
Yep.
That's fine.
Just following orders didn't work at Nuremberg, and it don't work here, buddy.
Buddy boy.
So, hey, baby, you don't want to fall in love with me. I'm bad news. You're just saying that to make me fall in love with you. So after listening to Canaan's tale, Freya gives him a family sword, saying she was told that she would know what man to give it to.
Disgusting.
I'll give you my sword. Canaan and Wulfric lure the Morwen to the village. They cross the oil pit by running on the shields, but the Morwen falls in the pit and the oil is set on fire. What do you mean?
Oh,
but
wait.
It does. That's so it's supposed to happen.
Also, when he comes out of the room, or like shack, I don't know, whatever, that when he's talking to Freya, her boyfriend, who she's promised to marry, well, she has it, but her dad has, is just standing outside waiting and like throws him a shield. I'm like, see what I mean? Like, he's not jealous. He's not anything. He's just like, hey, babe, we're going to go fight. Here's your shield. He's not... It was just a better duo. I just think that they should have been in love. I don't know. I could see it in their faces all of the time. And I get it, Freya, you're adorable. You have to like marry the princess because it's your duty. You fuck your friend for the booty. You know what I mean?
Okay, so all right, broke back Beowulf.
Back
Who's to say they weren't in love, but that, the society at the time in Scandinavia wasn't gonna, actually probably didn't care. They probably didn't care.
Yeah, they did not give a shit. They do not
probably
care like we care these days at all.
I know,
Especially in
I
like
mean,
armies and like warriors. Hell no,
so-
they were all
yeah.
like boinking each other.
Certainly, never mind. I was gonna say, I was gonna indulge in a stereotype, and I will not. Let's see, where the fuck was I? Let's see. It said that they set the thing on fire, but the Morwen bursts out, kills several people, then escapes because it's tough as shit.
Yeah, it is.
Meanwhile, an offspring of the Morwen sneaks into the hall where the women and children are hiding. So, okay, no longer the last of its kind.
It's a baby.
They don't go into really any detail though about, well, was the Morwen already pregnant, or is this just a thing it can do, or who knows? Eric, the orphaned boy that Canaan had begun looking after, alerts Hrothgar, who is killed as the women and children escape.
It is so crazy too. His death is like, ooh.
But so there's a thing. So did you recognize Hrothgar? Do you know who that is?
I don't know. I don't think so.
That's John Hurt.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. I mean, I definitely recognized him for sure. He's, very famous face you can't not recognize.
Yeah. So he is sadly no longer with us, but he is he's known for dying in movies. He doesn't hold the record, but he's like one of the top 10
Nice.
I'm trying. John Hurt, the actor who died in so many spectacular ways. Here we go. 10 actors who have died the most in films, from John Hurt to Christopher Lee. Also, Boromir. What's his name?
The actor?
Sean Bean. Yeah, Sean Bean.
I did not
Speaking of
recognize
Boromir's-
that guy.
No. Sean Bean's not in this movie. I'm saying he is also known for dying quite a lot
Oh, I see.
in movies. According to this list, Christopher Lee... Hold on. Oh, Christopher Lee was number 1, but he's in second place now. Those who are expecting to see Sean Bean on the list will be disappointed. Bean failed to make the top 10. He died on screen a grand total of 23 times. Eric Roberts, number 10, has died 35 times. So where's John Hurt? Show all 10. Here we go. So I'm going to have to edit some of this. Is this going to be one of those clickbait things? Okay. We've got, and I'm not sure how recent this list is, but it's pretty recent. Eric Roberts, this is from 10 up. Tom Sizemore, Bela Lugosi. So even though he hasn't made any movies in a while, he's still in the top 10. John Hurt is number 7 on this list. Boris Karloff,
Nice.
Okay, another old school. Dennis Hopper, 41 times. Oh, wait, let me go back. John Hurt, 39 times. 39 on-screen deaths throughout his
Wow.
career. Boris Karloff, Dennis Hopper, Vincent Price, another old school guy. 41 deaths for Vincent Price. Lance Hendrickson, 51 times. Christopher Lee used to be at the top with 60 on-screen deaths. Oh, my God. Current number 1 from when this list came out, Danny Trejo, 65
Oh.
on-screen deaths. So, wow. So Danny Trejo's career is not over, so I'm sure he will continue to add to that record. So there you go. Anyway, I love John Hurt. I've loved John Hurt for years, since I was like in elementary school. I've been a fan of John Hurt's. I'm going to go on a tangent here. There used to be a thing, I don't know if you had this when you were in school. There was a thing called the Weekly Reader that they'd hand out to you in school. It was a little, sort of I guess you call it a magazine, but it didn't have a glossy cover or anything. It was like maybe 8 or 16 pages or something. And in the Weekly Reader, there would be articles and things. And in this particular issue, there was an article about John Hurt was going to be on adaptation of Crime and Punishment on PBS that week. And I think they even had like a little excerpt from the script. And the idea was that you were supposed to like read this in class to get you interested in it. Because Crime and Punishment's a classic novel. It's on PBS. It's an educational thing. We're handing this out to the kids in class. And maybe it was junior high. But anyway, I got very excited to see this. And I, went home, and it was like a 2-part thing on Masterpiece or some shit. So that was the first thing I saw John Hurt in. And then I came in the next day after watching part 1, and I was asked the teacher if she'd watched it. She said no, and I was very, very disappointed that the teacher did not give a shit about the educational thing we were supposed to be interested in. But
That sounds
there you
like
go.
you 100%.
Yeah. Thanks. Anyway, that was my first. I'm not gonna bother looking up what year that was. I'll look it up later. That was my first. So ever since then, I've been like, it's John Hurt from Crime and Punishment. Played Raskolnikov. And now he's dead.
And now he's dead again.
Okay, so anyway, he is killed, which is how we got on this tangent, because John Hurt dies in this movie. Kanan realizes that they need stronger weapons to kill the Morwen. Kanan, Freya, and the newly crowned King Wulfric return to the lake to retrieve fragments of metal from Kanan's submerged ship.
But
While
also,
Kanan is under-
good job. Now you killed everyone here. I hope you're proud of yourself.
Who? Kanan or the Morwen? Yeah, yes, it is his fault that they're all dead.
It's like such a bummer. It's such a bummer that it's his fault, but like, dude, you really are just like fucking shit up everywhere you go. In space, on Earth, you're just fucking it up.
Yeah.
And
none of them
even
ever
says like, do you
call
think
him.
this is gonna work? And he's like, yeah, it's totally gonna work. I know it's gonna work. It's so gonna work. It does not fucking work.
Anyway, they think his space metal will be strong enough to kill the thing.
So tell us, how does he get his space metal?
He goes diving for it, right?
Yeah, he goes into the lake that he fucking crashed into, puts a bunch of rocks on himself, and like sinks himself down to the bottom of this lake to get this metal. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, a little late, buddy. You didn't think to do, like, you've just killed everybody, and now you're like, oh, maybe the metal from my spaceship is. I'm just like, oh man, this is sad.
Well, here, this is just occurring to me right now. You and your people managed to wipe out all but one of these things on their planet. I mean, maybe they were using big ray guns and shit, but he seems certain that setting it on fire is going to kill it, and he should have had a better idea of how tough this thing was if he's already killed millions of them. But maybe they had plasma rifles or some shit that just burns right through anything when they killed them, and didn't know that just normal fire wasn't going to be enough. I don't know. But he's sure his space metal will be strong enough to pierce its hide. While Kanan is underwater, the young Morwen attacks the boat, taking Freya. Kanan and Wulfric return to the village, where the fragments are soon forged into weapons before descending into the Morwen's lair.
Frankensword.
Freya awakens on a pile of bodies in the underground lair. So they haven't been killing and eating everyone. They've just been saving them for later.
Which we do see this at like some point in the middle of the movie. We see like a guy get taken from the other tribe, the Ron Perlman's tribe. And so we do kind of see this. But I was like, holy shit, Freya is dead and we didn't even grieve her. Another reason why I think the two dudes are in love. And then I was like, oh, it's because she's still alive.
Yeah. As the young Morwen moves towards Freya, it is distracted by the sound of Kanan's hunting party. Many of the hunters are killed, but the young Morwen is blinded by Boromir. When it returns to attack Freya, Kanan and Wulfric pass her one of the new swords with which she slays the young Morwen. The cave exits...
First, though, they blind it, which is, typical, I feel like.
Yeah. The cave exits to a high waterfall where the adult Morwen attacks. It seriously wounds Wulfric before Kanan engages it in battle. When Freya joins in, Kanan is able to knock the Morwen over the cliff edge to its death.
I honestly wasn't sure if he was going to cut his own arm off, or if because the monster like has his arm, and I was like, he has the sword, and I'm like, oh shit, is it going to rip his arm off? And then we're going to see him with like a metal arm. Is he going to cut his arm off? Is he going to cut its arm off? What is going to happen in this moment? I was not sure.
Which was it?
He cut the monster's arm off.
The monster. It would have been, I think, more fun if he cut his own off.
Same. And I really thought that was going to happen. I really did. And I was so sad. Like, I thought Wulfric was like dead because, the monster like got him. But apparently every character in this movie who's like important has like a fake out death. Like the king does it, and then like the Ron Perlman character does it, which his death is like amazing. He gets his like head sliced off, he gets decapitated, and it's so sick. But like Wulfric has like his like fake out death. When he's alive, and I'm like, oh my god, he's alive, but then he dies like moments later, I was like, oh my gosh. And he's like, I was king for a whole day, now you get to be king, and I hope you get to be king longer than I did. And I'm like, kiss him.
It's all your fault that I'm dying, and that half the village died, and one whole other village died, but you should be king now.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it is kind of like you broke it, you bought it. So it's not that you get to be king, you have to be king, because it's your job to take care of this shit now. It's your job to fix it. So yeah, let's go with that. Not you get to be king, you have to be king. It's your responsibility. Kanan tells Freya to wait for the rest of the warriors and kisses her before he heads back to the lake. Night falls as Kanan retrieves some items from his ship, says goodbye to his wife's submerged coffin.
So annoying. Oh my god,
because I guess I forgot all about that. That when it crashed, there's other people that they're not in suspended animation pods; they're just in coffins, but with nice little windows so that he can see them. So I guess he was gonna take them back to the home
yeah.
planet.
Exactly.
To bury
they were
them?
They were taking them back to bury him, and then the like monster like boarded their ship, and then they like they crashed into Earth, and now But I'm just like so annoyed because he's like, him and Freya are like kissing, and he's like, stay here, and she's like, you're not coming back, are you? And then he's like, okay, well, I'll be back. I just gotta go look at my dead wife's perfectly preserved corpse underwater. No big deal. I'll be back. Just wait here. And I'm like,
No, but he also,
Jesus
but
Christ.
that's not the real reason, though. So I forgot. They didn't mention this at the beginning. When he first climbs out of the thing and retrieves his computer, he sets off a distress beacon.
Yes.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It does. It says it retrieves a distress bacon. Distress bacon. Excuse me. I'm feeling a little distressed. Can I get some bacon that's going to make me feel better? I need a little distress bacon.
A little distress bacon.
It does say that he retrieves a distress beacon and a computer. It did say that, and then he activates the distress beacon. So the real reason he's going back is to just say goodbye to his wife, but to destroy the distress beacon.
Yeah, but how have they not shown up by now? Because he like pulls out the beacon and it's like beep beep.
It's a long way to.
And then he sees the fucking his like alien friends coming to pick him up, and then he destroys it. Like, you're telling me that he set this beacon off days ago, and now as this is all happening, now they're gonna show up and he's gonna destroy it, and then they're just gonna be like, oh, never mind, and like fly away.
Yeah.
Annoying.
No, I didn't. Yeah. Yes, I totally agree. I wasn't buying that at all. I was like, no. You pick up a distress signal. Now, we don't know what kind of technology it is exactly, but, it takes time to get from one planet to another.
Sure.
It takes time for the signal just to get there. But they go all the way there, and just as they're approaching the planet, the beacon turns off. No, they're not going to just go, oh, I guess he's not in distress, and leave. They're going to be like, oh, shit, the beacon went off. Fuck, something must have really we better get down there and see if he's still alive. Mm-hmm. Something terrible must have. If he was worth coming all that way to retrieve, then they're definitely going to want to know why the beacon suddenly shut off.
Yeah,
so,
and where are all of their dead people that they were going to bury?
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just him. It was him and another guy at the beginning of the movie who died because of the, like, creature. But it wasn't just him on that ship. Yeah. So, like, what? Like, that really annoyed me. Yeah.
So, I wasn't buying that at all. But Freya sees a rescue ship approaching, leading her to believe that Kanan was sent by the gods. There's a link here on Wikipedia to gods. I'm wondering what god. I'll check that link in a minute. I'm like, the rescue ship departs without Kanan, who stays as king, weds Freya, and they adopt Eric. It's a link to Asgard. It's a link to Norse gods. So I was just wondering if it was to gods in general or which gods that link was to. So there you go. That is Outlander. Did you remember that James Caviezel was Jesus in a famously controversial film?
No, I don't watch a lot of Jesus shit. Oh, but that does remind me. There is a part where the priest like tries to pray away the kaiju, which I thought was hysterical and accurate. Like, the thing is like approaching and they're like trying to get it to go into the trap, and then all of a sudden there's this guy with a cross like, listen here, Satan, the power of Christ compels you, and then is like shocked when the kaiju like rips him in half. Like, yeah.
Yeah, maybe run. Maybe God's
duh.
telling you to run.
Seriously.
No, the one he was in was The Passion of the Christ in 2004. That was directed by Mel Gibson. Does this not ring a bell with you?
Was that controversial?
Well, it's got a lot of extra biblical material in it.
Uh-oh.
And it's extremely brutal in its depiction of the crucifixion, which is, it's a brutal thing to do to a person, but they're like, we're gonna 100% show you exactly what it was like to go through this experience.
Well, one of my very favorite memes came from that, and it's like like Jesus sitting there all like bloodied and like fucked up, and then Mel Gibson is like sitting next to him, and they're like just like having a regular conversation, but it says when you're trying to convince God why your ex should go to hell. It's hilarious. I'll send it to you later.
Okay. So there's been various the Wikipedia is describing them as Catholic visionaries, such as Mary of Jesus of Agreda and Anne Catherine Emmerich, and the Dolorous Passion of Our Lord Jesus Christ by Clemens Brentano. Oh, it details the visions of Catherine Emmerich. There's been these various women, nuns, people who claim to have had visions of the crucifixion and wrote down their visions or told everybody their visions. So some of the details don't come from the Bible itself, but from this fairly modern person who claimed to have had visions of the whole. I saw the movie in my head of the whole thing, and it was like this. And Mel Gibson decided to include a bunch of that stuff, which is, a questionable source. Many people might classify it as bullshit. Of course, some people might call the whole thing bullshit, but this is an extra step removed. I'm not one of those people. I'm not saying that. I'm a good Catholic boy. I'm just saying some nun wrote a book and you're like, yes, that happened. I'm including it in my movie. Some of the stuff, I don't know. Did you ever see it?
I did see it. My church group took me and took the youth group to go see it.
Yep.
So yeah, I did see it, but I was very young, so. Yeah. And I just remember all of the girls fucking bawling their eyes out and huddling together, and then I don't really remember a lot about it.
Well, there's stuff in there that comes from Catholic tradition that's not directly in the Bible, like Veronica wiping his face, but there's other stuff that's from these much later things of so there's a part where he's on the cross, but it kind of falls face down, and then Mary looks and he's floating above the ground. He hasn't actually hit the ground because God will let him get beaten and crucified, but he won't let him hit the ground. That's from one of these ladies' visions. Anyway, it was controversial for a number of reasons: the inclusion of the source material, the brutality of the depiction, the Mel Gibson being a crazy asshole, any number of things. But that's where Jim Caviezel first, made his big splash, was in that thing, and now here he is, being
he's a fucking alien.
Now he's space Beowulf alien, but might have been sent from different gods.
Just fucking shit up, killing everybody everywhere.
So there are a lot of tangents in today's episodes, folks. There you go. That is Outlander.
Wait. We do have to talk about a little bit about just the shots of the monster in this film, because there are a few that are just so fucking good. I will start with the end because that's just kind of where we left off. But the end with the kaiju looking through the waterfall, so good. There's another part where when they're trying to get him to come in the trap, and they can't see him, but he can smell him because he smells like death, and he has Kanan has a torch in his hand, and he throws it and it lands in front of the kaiju, and so the fire on the ground kind of glowing up just shows him his face. It's so creepy, it's so eerie. There were just so many good moments of the monster. I felt like they did so well of just showing the monster in these really scary, creepy ways, and then also when we have the flashback and we realize that these monsters lived on another planet that was just desecrated so that they could make a life and build all this shit. It's just so scary and so creepy, but then it kind of gives us this I don't know, sympathy or kind of feeling of like, oh, well, shit, you know, like you kind of deserve it. You kind of had it coming. You wiped out an entire planet. Now they're coming to wipe out our planet. Like, I thought they just did so good with the monster itself. Like, so good. I really, really loved it. I appreciated it so much. There were so many moments where it was just so scary. And I think it's worth mentioning.
Now, this was another one we actually watched together after G-Fest.
Yeah.
And at the time we were having trouble finding it, and it was on YouTube, but we thought you had to have a subscription, but then it seemed like you didn't. But anyway, folks, if you want to watch it, it's now on Pluto. It wasn't on Pluto a couple weeks ago when we watched it, but it's on Pluto now. So
it is also still on YouTube.
At least that's what...
Free on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go.
So
Honeybee, what are you
stars?
going to rate?
Yeah. How many stars?
I think 4. I mean, just John Hurt himself. John Hurt gives an extra star to any movie right out of the gate. So
yeah.
So I'm going to give it 4 stars.
Hell yeah. I am going to give it 5.
And
oh, go ahead.
And Ron Perlman, you know, it's always nice to see Ron Perlman.
For sure, especially with a gnarly ass face tattoo.
So you're giving it 5. That's wow. That's quite a bit.
I thought it was so good. I was so emotionally invested in the characters. I thought that it was very predictable, like you kind of knew what was coming most of the time, but it was so well executed. I thought that it was just like very well written, and even though it was kind of like you knew what was coming, it was just so good. I felt like just so into every single character. You really knew when someone was going to die, because all of a sudden there'd just be like a guy on the screen that you didn't know and didn't have a name, and then like he would die 2 minutes later, and I thought that was kind of funny. But it was so good. I really loved every single person. Even though like our main character is kind of a dipshit and was getting a lot of people killed, I just thought that they did such a good job of like showing it and executing it. The monster was like definitely... I was a little bit disappointed in his size. I thought he should have been a little bit bigger for like our show specifically, you know, like, but I did love this movie. I loved it so much. It's a movie that like I will want to show other people and like, oh, you got to see this movie. So yeah, it was 5 stars for me.
Okay. Well, that's wow. 5. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. So next week, God help us. Next week we are talking about Reptosaurus, which which you should not watch, but if you feel you must, you can see it on Tubi or Plex.
Don't do it.
But yes, avoid it. But that's going to wrap it up for today. It's been a long one. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Until next week, I have been Precious D.
And I have been Honeybee.
Remember to keep calm and take shelter in basements.
And please, don't misuse science.
We won't see you, but you will hear us next time on Monster Movie Fun Time Go.
Let's go.
You've been listening to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. If you enjoyed the show, please consider rating and reviewing us on your podcasting platform of choice. You can leave us a message and find links to all our things at mmftg.com.